Welcome, everybody, back here at Veil of Sound. Welcome to one of our interview marathon days. I hope Christmas has settled for everybody. Bellies are still full, and you're eagerly awaiting the next feast in a couple of days. But I have a feast for you here today. I am very, very happy to talk to Christian Espedal, whom you might know as Gaahl. And so I'm very, very happy. Christian, thanks for joining the show.
Pleasure.
Christian, we want to talk about two of your records that came out this year in 2024. Which one would you like to start with, the new Trelldom record or with the debut record by Whispering Void? You decide.
For me, it's kind of they have been in the same time spectrum in creating, so it doesn't matter to me what in what order they go.
When you say they have both been created in the same kind of, well, time spot or period of time, is there something peculiar about that period of time for you that you mention it that early?
No, it's just accidental in a way that it's you just have happened to be part of the creative process. So I've also during this period I've also recorded the upcoming Gaahls WYRD album, and also
I've been waiting for that one.
Yeah, it were finished in early August, so that's when we did the master of it, mix and master.
It's interesting because when I think about it, one could look at the new Trelldom record by The Shadows and at the debut album by Whispering Void. One could look at it as if it's the two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, that's I don't know, but there's one character that are present on on both of them.
Yeah, it's not only because of you, but it's also because of the sound. You know, there is something in the sound of both records, and that is something that I would like to ask you. I was thinking about you and your biography and about the music that you have been putting out in the last 30 some years. And I was thinking about, okay, if Gaahl is a house, how could I describe it? And I came up with the following idea. I think the foundations are very black. But I think the outside adornments are in all possible colors. Yes. And that's why I think Whispering Void and Trelldom are like two sides of the same house.
Yeah, that's it belongs in the same house, definitely. Yeah.
So then let's talk about the Trelldom record first, because it was the first one that you released this year, September 13th, by The Shadows. And both have another thing in common. Both are out by courtesy of Prophecy Recordings, so Prophecy Productions. If I were to compare the new Trelldom record and the three previous ones, I mean, like, it is, of course, still you, and there are also other people involved that were involved in the other records, but it sounds very different. It sounds like a liberated Gaahl.
Yeah, yeah, it's if it's a liberated Gaahl, but it might be. I kind of feel fairly liberated on on the previous albums as well, but it might be. Yeah, we grow older and our energy shifts, so it's more. I think it's more where my head is. So I don't feel that it's more liberated myself, but of course the one always get more experience and also maybe get a bit more relaxed by getting older. So
would you say that you are also a little bit more relaxed when it comes to the soundscape of Trelldom?
it's that's probably more uh, experience, and also that we kind of wanted to have a very not to we wanted to keep the sound raw and kind of bring not not refine it too much, keep it in its raw state. But of course, there's the sound of the different instruments, and of course the highly skilled musicians that adds their own creativity to it. But we basically wanted to have it made very raw and don't not polish it too much. So it kind of, but it's in a way I feel it's softer. There's something with it, but for me it's more liquidy. For me it seems like something in between. There's some thick liquid that's floating in between water and air. In a way, that's my feeling of the sound and the energy of the Trelldom, and I'm not certain how we managed to end up in that sort of darkness, because it became way darker than I had predicted when we started the process with it.
But you are happy with the result.
Oh, I'm extremely happy with it. It's normally I wouldn't go when I release an album. I'm usually finished with it. I don't revisit it. But when it comes to Trelldom and By the Shadows, that's an album that I know I'm returning to constantly. Yeah, I'm still getting in contact with it, and that's a lovely feeling to be able to revisit something and still kind of ponder around it.
So when you say revisit, that means that you would put it on the record. You would put the record on at home.
Yeah, I can do that with this album. That's there's something with it that I feel very in the sense I can observe it from the outside instead of putting myself into it. So that's something that I'm a bit intrigued with. I'm still pondering a bit of what we managed to do here. So
you have already hinted at the people that are involved in the new record, and apart from Stian Karstad, with whom you've already been working before, also in Gaahls WYRD, you brought on Kenneth Kapstad, that most of you might know from Motorcycle or Jaga Jazzist. And you've brought in, and I hope I pronounce it correctly, Kjetil Moster, who is doing saxophones and clarinet on the record. This combination of Kapstad, who's a very, I don't want to say jazz-oriented drummer, but that's what he's known for, and Moster, who was with the saxophone and the clarinet. Was it already clear from the beginning that this would create a kind of different Trelldom record?
Let's see. We had a lot of material to work with when me and Stian first pondered things out, and then we we had a couple of options where we the first idea we had were to bring in Kenneth. Both of us asked and got a positive response. So I'm very happy with that. And then we started, did the recordings and pre-recordings, also rehearsal wise things with, and then we had two musicians in mind. That we thought we wanted to bring in just to add an extra correspondence with the music, and also to the energy of it. So we sent a couple of songs to Kjetil, and what he returned kind of just, okay, I want this on the whole album. So that's basically how it's. I was first track he sent back where it's actually not on the album. So, but it's fantastic, and I were kind of okay. We need to bring this in, and his creative solutions for the songs extremely pleased. So so it was kind of okay, this is where we have to go, and so half of it we before I did put the vocals on, he had already added the saxophone, and half of it I did the vocals without the saxophone, and then he added the saxophone after, or the clarinet whenever.
That's a very interesting thing that you're mentioning there, because the question is, do you hear a difference between the tracks where you already had a saxophone on the music and the ones where you didn't?
Not really, but maybe. Okay. But still, it's kind of the I think people would be surprised if they kind of got to know which, because it's not the obvious ones that were the sex were put on at a later stage. Okay. So, but I think he's done a fantastic job in kind of, and the communication with and the small details between the vocals and the saxophone, where they kind of intervene with each other, like they become one, and you don't know where one begins and one ends. I find that very interesting.
Yeah, it creates a very interesting carpet. It's like, that's where I totally agree with you when you say it's very floaty. Definitely. You've spoken about communication. Is that nowadays a very, very important, or is that an important thing for you and the projects you are doing?
It's I do like to bring in as much as creativity from the other other members in anything, but it's not always the way it wants to function. Some are more happy with just being told where to go and getting input. While when it comes to By the Shadows, there's complete freedom within, and there's no egoistic perspective. Everyone is doing their thing for the music, and it becomes one thing. There's not an ego that is standing there and wanting the attention. And I think that's, I think maybe that's one of the reasons why I can revisit it constantly, because I can hear this openness and this It's a fantastic collaboration.
Yeah, it is because it's very obviously you because of the vocals. It's noticeable very fairly and quickly. But it reminds me also a lot of other black metal acts, like for example, Ruins of Beveros, which are also able to give like a very industrial and avant-garde kind of twist to their music. And that is something that I highly enjoy on the new record. Um, but I'm pretty sure you never set out to create something like an industrial black metal album or something like that. That is usually the result of a songwriting process. And that is something that I would like to know. How did you write these songs? Together or apart? Did people contribute theirs? And how did it work?
Let's see. We, of course, a lot of things are done verbally, communication wise. But we, yeah, Stian had sent me things back and forth, kind of ideas, and some of it we already back in. Not that any of that those things ended up on this album, but Stian had already sent quite a lot of music for before the first Gaahls WYRD album that were intended for Gaahls WYRD. And so it's kind of he is a very creative source that have he has a very loose perspective of his ideas. So he just send me riffs, and I kind of just pick out things that we end up using. But this time also we had like the voice of what whispers. That's we put Kenneth to the task of just do a song on drums, and then we'll add the music after. And that's how that approach. Yeah, so it's yeah, we have a very free connection to it. Of course, I've worked with Stian since he joined Trelldom in '95, and back then I did a lot of the songs. I either wrote them on keyboard or just hummed them to him, and then he transformed things to guitars. Of course, not all of it, but some of the tracks. But yeah, so we kind of have learned it to read each other's angles in a way of how we, and of course it transforms, and you kind of put out the skeleton and then you start to add flesh to it, and yeah. But yeah, it depends. Let's see how the skeleton on the next recording will be. We have a lot of ideas, and yeah, on how we will attack the creative process with it. But it's the ground structure is mainly come from Stian.
I mean, like, I am a little flabbergasted that a band which has put out 4 records in 32 years is now talking about, okay, let's see how about the next skeleton. I'm not gonna ask anything, but it shows that this incarnation of Trelldom is a very good one, a very solid one. I like that. A lot of people say, and it's of course also obvious when looking at the record titles of the first 3 records, they all seem to be somehow intertwined. Is this now the beginning of a new trilogy, or do you say, let's see?
Yeah, it is. I said both. It is, and but it's also connected. It's also connected to the three first ones.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I like to keep an open idea of let's see if it works. And originally, I had the whole construction of it, or kind of the lyrical concept of it, and the topic that I'm diving into. I The intention were to do it in Norwegian, like I've done with most previous Trelldom albums or songs, but it I didn't get the language to taste musically in Norwegian, so I I started to rework it, and that's the reason why it ended up in English instead of. So it's basically just a musical decision in the sense of how I feel the flavor of the music and what the music to to continue the flow in and the aspect of where we want to go with it. Norwegian has not the same melodic angle to it, so I had to change the perspective. But I think a lot of the reason because of the way Kenneth handles the drums, or his softness to the way his musicality. I think that's the reason why I ended up doing it in English instead of Norwegian. So yeah.
So once again, for everybody who has not listened to the new record, Trelldom, By the Shadows, wonderful record. Before we talk about Whispering Void, I have one question about your former records. Somewhere I've read that Til Minne somehow talks about the possible, one of the earlier albums, Til Minne talks about the possible inheritance of memory. That, memory can be inherited from one generation to the next. How do you feel now? As the record is already a few years old, how do you feel now that scientists have proven that this is definitely part of our DNA? Do you feel like a prophet, or do you say like, that's coincidence?
I think this is just a way people have felt, or it's just been. I think it's something that most people, if they listen to themselves, they might feel connected to it, and but it's I think we see traces of it up through history in general, but no, it's but it's it's a perspective that I like to work with, at least.
And as I said, nowadays, for everybody, you can look it up. Scientists have proven that the memories or that the experiences of our ancestors up to a certain part are part of our DNA. And it explains also a lot of things. Before we talk about Whispering Void, how does it feel to be a Spellemann Award winner?
That's fairly meaningless, but it's. I know the rest of the band are very happy with it. So, but for me, it's kind of I'm just eager to create the next album. So it's but of course it's a positive because it shows that there are people appreciating what you do, but in general it's just a price.
Yeah, but I think there are many people out there who appreciate what you do a lot. So let's talk about Whispering Void. a new band set up by one of your former musicians, by Volgart, right? If I remember correctly. And he brought in you and Lindy Fay from Wardruna. Um, First of all, how did that happen? Did Ronnie talk to you and say like, "Oh, I here have this little thing, and I would like you and Lindy Fay to do the vocals, or were you already involved at an earlier stage?"
Ronnie, Ronnie came to me and asked me if I would hear some of just to and see if there was some potential there, or and then he I definitely saw qualities in this.
Yes.
So he asked if I could help out, and he and when we kind of reflected a bit and got into the process of, okay, what do we need here what would be suitable. We agreed that it would be good to bring in a female vocal as well. So I recommended Lindy to participate. So then I introduced them to each other, and we went through the songs, and asked if she wanted to be part of it. Yeah. So that's the time gap in between, because we kind of, and Lindy is of course a very busy lady with with Wardruna and also her own music, but and then when Ronnie had some options, because he had done some rehearsals, and with a friend of his that did drums. Since a lot of the guitars were already recorded back at Ronnie's place on his computer, basically. I thought, okay, who can we bring in? And I know Eva is a fantastic drummer when it comes to this mid pace, and this he has a really lovely touch to how he know how to just be a bit behind in a perfect space in. So I recommended that we could ask him if he wanted to be part of it, and I think Eva brings a lot of life into the music, just in the way he managed to get the vibe moving. Also this musical sensibility in the way he just pushes the drums. And then we ended up using him on bass as well, which I think was wrong. We were thinking of doing the bass at one point, but when he heard what Eva had done, it just, okay, it's let's leave that task to him.
Yeah.
So
a one-man rhythm section.
Yeah. Yes. We also have 3 guest musicians as well on this.
Good that you mentioned that, because I wanted to come to that. Because I was really surprised when I saw that and heard it. It's very, very cool, and the sound, the quality that they bring to the sound is amazing. You have Ole, who does, I hope I pronounce it correctly, guzheng, an Indian slide guitar on 2 of the tracks. You have a cello on 3 of the tracks, and you have a fiddle on 2.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't want to ask how you found those people, but When did you feel the need that those tracks needed especially that?
It's yeah, it's kind of when we it's kind of just something that we felt in the songs, where and especially on I think the first one we started to approach in the sense of, okay, we need we let's bring in Ola Basta to do the um, do this. He has this Indian slide sitar, and then he also used a Chinese harp. And for me, I wanted to enhance the 60s vibe to that song, to Vindan Via. This almost with this Asian influence. So that, and then of course you also can hear in like Bifinas, where we have the howling fella. The songs ask for it, so that's where the reason why we brought it in. And the cello, Ronnie had already done some cellos as kind of on the computer, kind of just digital cello, and it gets very stiff comparable, or very. So I wanted to bring in organic cello instead. Of course, he adds more than just. He's not just playing exactly the way Lonnie had already put it together, but added something. Something extra. There's so much more happening in when an instrument actually is played, rather than it's just being put on with keys, basically.
Yeah.
So
there is this reverb already, right?
Yeah. It's but there's there are so many frictions that happen. It's there's so many vibrations that happen. Well, the first one we actually the last track on the album, we instead of adding the cello, because there were already a cello line, but we removed the cello, and then we got Lindy to just hum the cello line on the song "The Flower." So that's and then I added all the. Then I sing on top of that again. Of course, do a bit of curves after where. But then instead of bringing in the cello, we just got Lindy to sing the straight line of the cello, which also kind of makes it way more alive than if we had used digital cello. Yeah.
After listening to the record for a number of times, I thought, to me, a little bit, it sounds like a combination of Laurel Canyon, 1960s psychedelics, combined with the less pretentious side of British prog rock from the 70s, which makes for a very interesting combination. Especially interesting in that context is definitely your singing duty, you sharing singing duties with Lindy, and also the way you do that together. You have already done that together in Wardruna, right? So how did it feel to do this again?
In this part, we did a lot of the most tracks we did we were in studio together, and normally that's not something that I do. So it was very, of course, me and Lindy gets on like a house on fire. So we had a splendid time in studio doing this, but we also kind of just sparred with each other and sometimes we stand in the same room using the same mic at the same time. So that's also kind of it's a playful and interesting way of approaching it. There's at the sound of the heart. The song "Whispering Void" is the only song that I did all the vocal and song without Lindy in the studio, and then she came in after and did dubbings with me. Apart from the beginning, then we are these small childish things we do there. It's their way, kind of, but that's not verbal. It's more just playing together in a way. It's so that's but they're the main melody line, and everything is done without her in studio, which in a way is sad, because it would have been good to we continue the whole album with and also the flower. It's kind of were the last track that I recorded. I wanted to save it because I wanted it to have the conclusion of the album, and the conclusion is always difficult to kind of end up with before you have put together all the words and all the feelings to a process. So that's also something where but there Lindy had already done the cello line, which were the second song she had her vocal parts of. But then, so it's but a very interesting process in general. Just being in the studio and inventing it as we go, not pre-working it mentally too much. Just take it day by day. And
was this the first time that you and Lindy did this after your cooperation in Wardruna, or did you do collaborate in between?
Let's see. I've also been part of her Lindy Fehela and De Fauna. It's so the two first albums I'm like the one I don't remember the name of the records even, but there, of course, there Lindy have already created most of it. So some of it is spontaneous, but it's not like I've just entered the studio and added things that have felt natural to bring in. And in Wardruna, it was more Einar and me that were creating the creative process, and we recorded in his studio as well. So it was a natural process to, and then Lindy usually came in after and did her thing. So
I hope you don't mind me asking the following question, but how did the other Gorgoroth members react to your and Einar's Wardruna project? Because I know it already started before the breakup.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never asked any of them. It's because me. Let's see, Einar and we started the idea of Wardruna in 2001, and so it was. He joined in on I think it was 2000 he joined it. Or
Yes.
of course,
At least that's what every Gorgoroth biography says. Yes.
yeah. So because it was Erlend Eriksen or Sergeant Eriksen, the one doing the drums on Incident Sodom, that kind of put told about him. And so I had not met him prior, but we went, we got along really well, and yeah, and we had more of the, we had a lot of the same worldviews, if one can put it in that sense, and so that's basically how Wardruna came to be. It I now moved away from Bergen for a while, so we had a time gap where it was a bit difficult to be creative together. But when he moved back to Bergen, we managed to finally put together the first album. And
what struck me is that when looking at your body of work, and that's where I want to come back to one of my initial questions. Of course, you started in black metal, but let me ask it this way. I'm pretty sure that even before you started Trelldom, before you joined Gorgoroth, you were interested in a lot of other music, because when listening, for example, to Whispering Void, there are prog rock elements on there. For example, on Flower, we have this kind of folk thing that you've got in many of your projects. So black metal, yes, but an interest for a lot of other music even before that?
Oh yeah. I've never been stuck in one genre. So that we end up with with the Trelldom, and that kind of falls into the category black metal at one point. That's pure coincidence in a way. It's just the way it turned out. But I've never kind of been stuck in one music form. I've all sorts, anything from classic to I don't know where the limits should place themselves, if there are limits.
So is that nowadays something that is important for you to, I don't want to say find the genre, but find the right sound that you take from somewhere and wherever that is?
I just try to make when I start with one song that I don't know where it will end up. I just try to do what the song invites me to do, and where I feel that it's comfortable. And yes, I never think of the approach of a song before, well, in the sense of where it will end up and what category it will fall into. That's it's the songs themselves that decide this. I'm just filling in what my head tells me to.
But just for clarity, because I didn't understand it completely, you said where the song feels comfortable, not where you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Very cool. But you would not would you describe yourself as a vessel?
We probably are, all of us, kind of vessels for at least for our subconsciousness, or whatever subconsciousness is. But that's what I'm trying to. I try to channel. It might just be my own thoughts, but it's one might be a vessel for oneself as well. So
interesting that you always deliver the little hints that lead me to questions that I normally would not like to ask. But as you've said, like your own personal orientation or something like that, 30, 40 years ago, you have very outspokenly or very, very clearly spoken about Christianity. And I'm not judging because I like a lot of things in there. You have said that I am my own God as well as I am my own Satan. A
Yeah.
very, very clear idea. I just want to point it out. Do you have something against the belief or against the institution?
Institution. It's the idea of when some like with monetarists, you are automatically caught in. You have automatically trapped yourself, and if you want to, if there's only one thing that's correct, and you want everyone else to follow that idea, that's where I draw the line. We need to maintain this free approach to become whatever we are. So it is definitely the institution, but it's the idea of where it derives from that we.
Let me guess, then we are much closer to each other than I would have thought at the beginning. Not being a Christian, but I also don't have anything against the people who believe in it. But I guess you would allow everybody his or her own belief as long as it's not trying to force it on somebody else.
Yes, this is correct.
And now I can ask that question that I was very anxious to ask. I'm not sure. You have declared yourself being a Satanist in a certain way. And at the same time, you've spoken about Anton LaVey, and I quote you because I love it. You said about Anton LaVey and his Church of Satan, "They're ridiculous. I won't waste my breath on discussing them." Let me guess. You wouldn't do it because it's, again, an institution, right?
Yes.
Wonderful. I like that. Yeah. And now I'm trying to phrase it. I want to come back to that idea of freedom. You have released 2 records. I still say they're very alike. And many people will say they're very different. Is it this kind of artistic freedom of releasing 2 different records and still, having some connections in between? Is that this kind of artistic freedom that you have been seeking throughout your career and where you now might arrive more easily at?
I've done a lot of things that's never been released or that people don't know of. But it's it's just part of freedom. Freedom is a lot, and I think it should be maybe the core of one's existence. The connection to freedom is the closest we have to truth.
Good idea. Very interesting idea.
So it's, but I do like to have kind of, but sometimes it's not like I'm always in a creative process. So, but for some reason, this period that I've been in now have been quite a lot of it's been a lot of things that have been going on simultaneously. So it's just been a lot of I've been allowed to express a lot of things. I've gotten rid of a lot of things that have held me kind of things that have annoyed me. I've gotten rid of. So, well, partly it's of course always disturbances in the world, but ended up working in surroundings that I'm way more at peace with than in the past. And that probably music.
Two things. You have said that to you, freedom is the closest we come to truth. However, of course, there are certain truth, aka facts, that have nothing to do with freedom, right?
Oh yeah, of course. There's it's a huge specter. So
Yeah.
but for if one talks of the self and to be true to the self,
yeah,
that's, I think that's the key to freedom.
yeah. And second, you've spoken or you've hinted at it very often now. You have recorded a lot of different music and a lot of music that has never seen the light of a publication. Are there songs where you say like, oh, I have to work on them because they need to get out at some point? Or do you say,
they don't need to come out. It's like the reason why Trelldom in the first place released anything is basically because someone was nagging and you have to release this. So I didn't have the intention of releasing it at any point. So, and then when it first started, yeah, things just kept on rolling in a way. So, but the important thing with the song is to create it, and then things accidentally are released or end up on something. But it's the creative process that's the most important, at least for me.
May I then ask how you would feel if anybody would release the things you haven't released after your death?
Oh no, that's fine.
Okay.
That's yeah, it's they'll probably never find it. So
okay. I also quickly want to talk about something that struck me. You are a highly creative person. Some might even say a creative savant. You are a painter. You are an actor. You have designed women's fashion, or you've been involved in the design of women's fashion, and you are your own winemaker.
Well, I have to say, a winemaker. It is a collaboration with Anthony Tortul, Winehouse La Sorda. So it is yeah. We just aim for where we want to go flavor wise, but it is definitely. Without Anthony, I would be completely lost in that process. I've been asked to do wines with a lot of my favorite producers up through the years, and I've always kind of told them, no, I don't want to put a flashlight on this. I want it's the wine producer and the wine farmer, as they are. they put so much effort and so much work with it. It's kind of a all year round. So the honor should go there, no matter what. And then, but then COVID came, and that's why we ended up just to help out in the sense of how can we, and then we got along. Fantastic individual, fantastic family. So yeah, so we just continued. But it was the idea were basically during COVID to kind of help. Well, the wine imports were kind of stopping, but here in Norway we have a proper system, so this didn't affect too much. So we could help out. So yeah, he's been a fan of my music, and I've been a fan of his wines without being aware of it, and then we kind of meet in the just before COVID enters the world and disrupts, and then we just start working together. Yeah.
Wonderful how things somehow just simply take shape, right?
Yes.
So, Christian, first of all, thanks for all the details. But of course, nobody leaves the Veil of Sound interview without having to go through the infamous quickfire round. Neither will you. You will always get a couple of alternatives, and you have to choose one. For example, AC versus DC, Pepsi Cola versus Coca-Cola, Kamala Harris versus the idiot. And let's start off with wine.
Yes.
Is wine something for you that you enjoy on a daily, bi-daily basis, or is it something for special occasions only?
It is usually when I'm around humans.
Okay.
It's it helps me to get a distance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of my I can isolate in the wine.
Mm-hmm.
So I can so it's kind of my buffer zone.
Okay.
In a way, it's also my mountain. So it is so I can I can dive into the flavors and get a bit distracted from all the noise that and energies that are brought in by others.
Mm-hmm. Do you then have a preference for red or for wine, or do you say depends on the occasion, depends on the the situation, or
depends on my mood and what my usually the mood tells me what in the sense of usually the palate tells you that today I want to taste this. It's so, but if I do dive into the red more often than the others, but yeah, it depends.
Yeah, but I think that also is clear because the structure of red is generally much deeper than what the structure of white, of course. Yeah. If you were to choose a white wine, and that's something that I just thought of right now, would you rather choose one of those? I don't know how they call that in English, because I know that German terminology here is lacking, but would you rather choose one of the Pinot Grigios, for example, or would you go for a German Riesling, or right now?
It depends on the producer.
Very good.
Yeah, it depends very much on the producer. Yeah, it's let's see if it was Alice Bourbeau. I love her Riesling, but it's I don't think most people would recognize it as a Riesling if they are used to the traditional German Riesling. So let's put
it this way. Next time you're around my area here in Frankfurt, you give me a holler like a month before, and I'll take you to a vineyard an hour away from here where they produce some top-notch white wine.
Yes, lovely.
That's like I know the vineyard, so even though I don't drink, but I know the winemaker. So if you're here and you got time, tell me.
Yes.
Let's go back to music.
Yes.
Let's go back to music. I've hinted at Laurel Canyon. There are, of course, two bigger acts to come out of that. Crosby, Stills and Nash on the one hand, and Neil Young on the other.
I have no connection to any of them, so I can't give you an answer there.
That is totally fine. As I've also think there is a little bit of industrial in the new Trelldom record, Killing Joke versus Godflesh.
I have no experience with any of them either. So I do know a lot of my friends like Godflesh, and I like some of what some members in Godflesh have done earlier, but I've actually never put my ears to it myself.
When you say like what some members of Godflesh have done earlier, do you mean, for example, Justin Broderick, who was a Napalm Death?
It's quite possible that that's what I mean. Yes.
Classical music, Beethoven or Greek?
Nowadays, definitely Greek. Back when I was younger, Beethoven. But yeah, I've come to I really like. I've come to like Greek, but back when I were a kid and also when I were a teenager, I were Beethoven were something I very often put on. But,
was that something that you grew up with?
Yeah, I've always listened to kind of classical music and especially a lot of Baroque have been a lot of my.
So something like Bach, for example.
Yeah. But, yes, but for me, yeah, more. Yeah, Baroque have had a lot of impact musically back when I were a kid.
And let's go to paintings. Vincent van Gogh, or I know that my Dutch friends say Van Gogh, versus Edvard Munch.
Okay, let's see. Sorry, there was someone trying to call me. So
no problem. Yeah, Shall I repeat my question?
Vincent van Gogh, and then
or Edvard Munch.
Oh, let's say I have to put you on. Let's say I'll reconnect you.
Yeah.
I
can hear and see you perfectly.
I can't at the moment. I can't hear you. Oh, are you
Maybe
there?
You can hear me now.
Well, now I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Now, so Vincent van Gogh versus Edvard Munch.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That's impatient people.
That's me. Yeah, I have to say that.
No. It's the ones that respond immediately when they know I'm in an interview. So it's yeah. Let's see, Vincent van Gogh or
Edvard Munch.
For me, Edvard Munch, definitely. I do like both of them, but for me, Munch, yes.
So for all the people out there, I not only ask that because Christian is an artist himself, but you even have your own gallery in Bergen, right? So
yes.
So everybody, if you want to meet the guy, maybe go to Bergen and visit Galerie Fjallar. I hope I remember that correctly. Yes, if you want to listen to him, listen to the last Trelldom record, By the Shadows, or to the debut record by Whispering Void, At the Heart of Sound. Both amazing records done by some unbelievably skilled people. One of them, Christian here. Thanks for all the interview. Thanks for all the details, for all the in-depth answers, and for making my day by saying that we'll get new Gaahls WYRD records or songs sometime next year. Thank you very, very much, Christian.
Pleasure.
So enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, same to you.